there, this is Stephanie Wilson coming to you live. I am the co-founder of TW Housing, and this is my little assistant, my 6-month-old Mason. Want to say hi, buddy? Say hi. Oh, he's a little shy. Me and my husband are currently moving into a nice little, a 2-bedroom townhome over in Novato. And as a 25 to 40-something-year-old who is currently renting to try and save up to buy a home, especially as they're just starting their family, there's a few things that I've heard from other people that they don't think about doing when they're, moving in or renting. So I thought I'd give some good feedback. The main thing that I find in property management and in mortgage compliance is when they have tenants and tenant disputes, especially about the deposits and about move in and move out, is nobody takes before and after photos. Such as the owner, the investor, does not bother to go around and take pictures of the property before they have it turned over or before they do any touch-ups. After they do touch-ups and once it's turned over to the tenant. Many tenants also don't bother to do that, and when they go, if they have to go to court to go and get their deposits back, they have no legs to stand on because they don't have before and after photos. So there's no verification that they left the property equal to or better than how they received it. Thus, taking pictures of a property is essential when you're moving in, moving out, or even just purchasing a place to move into. The appraisal usually does a thorough job. However, things can happen if you're purchasing a place that is currently somebody else's investment property and people live in it. People could remove things while they're moving out that weren't supposed to be moved. I have one incident on an appraisal that I was reviewing. The people who were moving out, they had just recently gotten the tenants to move out for the prior to the inspection for them to sell it. The tenants had put in, apparently, even though federal law says you have to have this in your kitchen, and even Dr. Oz has put a whole thing online about this. Few people know that their stove actually gives off carcinogens when you're cooking. Just opening a window is not enough because depending on the trajectory of the wind and where your window is, it could just be blowing those carcinogens throughout your home. So, what the law says you have to have is this. The hood above your stove, which actually sucks air out and up and out of the house. This is mandatory in an apartment, in a townhome, house, what have you. And this was missing, and especially on FHA loans, which 95% of the country is taking out, which are federally backed home loans. You cannot do it if this is missing, and it becomes the seller's responsibility to put it in. So sellers must make sure about this as well. Also, you need to make sure that, especially when buying or selling a property, that is disclosed what appliances are in the property and are being left there because the buyer might not want them. And oftentimes, I can't tell you how many times I've had people move into a property and there's a washer and dryer. Oh, now you want to say something on the matter. There's a washer and dryer that's old and busted that they didn't want there, and they have their own. Also, you want to make sure that for people who rent out their properties, you want to make sure that you go over the HUD inspection guideline as far as what your property needs to have, because even if you're renting at market value, you need to do this because it will, in the long run, especially if you have to go to court on anything, if they try to challenge you on whether your property was safe and healthy, to getting your deposit back. If it doesn't meet the guidelines, you could be at fault. Also, another big thing that property owners who rent out don't ever fix: cracks in your cement, such as in the garage, outside in the walkway. If those aren't fixed and a person falls, you can be liable. Otherwise, you need to make sure that you put it in your lease that you are not liable for that sort of thing. But also, you should make sure that you have any kind of housing hazard insurance. And make sure you have the proper insurance on your property if you're renting it out. That it's proper homeowners insurance. Well, technically it's not homeowners insurance, but it is insurance for investment property. Because otherwise, they're only covering as if you live there. And if you're renting it, you'd be surprised how many people just try to rent out their extra home or their second home and don't bother to put it as an investment property with their insurance. Well, since somebody is starting to be a little fussy and wanting the spotlight, I'm going to sign off for my first little webcast for TW Housing. This is Stephanie Wilson and Mason Wilson signing off. Have a great weekend.